So I wanted to come on today and just talk a little bit about ORRIN and ORSON West. Now, these are two little boys who lived in California City, and they went missing from the same place. Um, there are two sets of people here. One is the biological family, and one is the adopted family. The boys were adopted, and their adopted parents are named Trezell and Jacqueline West. And the little boys were outside with their dad, with their adopted dad, um, just playing. The dad says playing with chalk, and they go missing. Immediately, the father starts looking for the boys. He starts calling them. I believe he even got in his van and drove around and tried to find them with no success, with no luck. So then he, of course, calls the police. The police come and the search for the boys begins. This conference didn't go over too well with most of the public. It just didn't. It didn't look good. But none of us know how we would be in that situation. But with the Chris Watts case, I watched 20 seconds of that and knew that he did it. I just knew that the family was never coming home and he did it. And it's just a vibe that they give off. It's just a bad feeling it gives you, which is not, it's not, that doesn't hold up in court or anything, but you're a human being, you feel the things you feel, and everybody has an opinion, and you kind of go with your gut. But it was just things like he had his arms crossed. He had his arms crossed, and just like Chris Watts had the exact same thing. When you're closing yourself in like that, it's kind of as if you're trying to keep information, and you're trying to say, I'm going to go as far as I'm going to go and no further. Now, I guess that's kind of like an insecure thing too, where you're kind of, trying to keep safe. So, there's two ways to look at everything. He was standing in front of people that were questioning him, and I'm sure having some doubts of their own. But the part that really got me is right in the beginning, and I have notes because I remember nothing without notes. But the part that got me was right in the beginning. They ask him what happened, and his first words are, "It was cold." And he starts talking. It sounded like a rehearsed story. It sounded like he had gotten together with her and was like, this is what we're going to say. Now, even if they didn't do it, sometimes people are nervous and they're like, okay, this is what I have to say. And they think it out, and, that's what they're going to do. So that's not to say, guilt, but it sounded rehearsed. They were setting the scene. She was wrapping gifts. They were playing with chalk. A lot of times too, like I've noticed when people are, if you watch court cases and things, they're giving little details that do not matter at all. They matter nothing to the story. It doesn't matter, does it really matter that they're playing with chalk? No, that's something you say to justify your actions. You're saying that so it doesn't look weird that the boys are outside. And I just saw a lot of that. Another part was like 75% of the interview was them talking about themselves and being really defensive. What they were worried that people would wonder why they weren't out looking. They were, concerned with covering their own selves and not looking guilty. And the thing that got me the most was at the end, the mom said, the reporter asked, what do you guys want people to know? Or, what do you want to say to people? And the mom says, we're going through it. That to me is just such a strange thing to say. That is also about yourself. And of course we know you're going through it. But we're not asking about you. We're asking, the subject here are these two little boys. And I just never got that enough from that interview. It seemed to be way more about them than the boys. And there's so many parts of that I can just picture, which if you haven't been in that situation, then of course we don't know. But I could just picture me, I would start saying mannerisms my child had. I would start saying, this is what they look like. They, little things about them that made them stand out so that people would be able to see them. I would tell them, how they spoke, or, just anything like that to make them more visible and recognizable. And then, they were asked things about the little boys, and their only thing to say was they were rambunctious. Rambunctious was the word. Why would that be the thing you feel the need to say? I can think of a lot of things I think about my children, but, like hyper and rambunctious is not the first thing that comes to mind. So, also, as the Chris Watts case, and a lot of cases I've seen, they're referring to them in the past tense. That's pretty telling always when you have already, put them in the past tense. So again, not jumping to conclusions, not saying anything, but it's something I noticed. And this is just kind of a thing that I noticed a little bit too, which is nothing, definite or anything. I just think this for myself is, when my husband and I are doing something together, or, even when we're just talking to people we know or getting to meet, or we're going through stress or anything like that, we kind of interrupt each other, but we look at it as like helping each other to finish the sentence, and if one kind of gets stuck, we just kind of like keep it going and answer for the other, but it's the way we are with each other. We talk to each other so much, we just kind of, just kind of finish each other's sentences. But, to me, that's kind of a team thing. But it really felt like the wife was kind of like standing back, letting him say everything, which, he was the one with the boys, so I can understand that. But, as a mother, I think I'd be jumping in there too, and I'd be like, blah, 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 and just anything, because I'd be so hopeful to give as much information as I could. But it did, I could see a little bit of, okay, this is what we have to say, and, which again is not to say that, they're guilty. It's just, a strange situation, and that's what I got from it, So, and I've heard other people say that as well, and it doesn't seem exactly like the reaction that some people would have. Now, the boys' original names were Classic and Sincere. Their mother's name is Ryan Dean. She was also interviewed in this, and it just breaks your heart. She will just break your heart. There's so many tears coming from her. I just look at that poor woman, and I'm like, gosh, she must be dealing with just so much. And you have to be wondering, where are my babies? What happened? How did this happen? Are they safe? Are they eating? Are they being taken care of? Will I ever see them again? What do they look like now? I can just imagine, and I'm sure she thinks of them every single day. And, the whole situation with her losing them, I'm not exactly sure, who can say, because we don't know everything about it, but it was a broken leg. Kids break their legs. I'm sure they know more about it than all of us, but, accidents happen, even though broken legs pretty bad. Accidents happen, and, so I don't know everything there, but I just feel so terribly, sad for that part of the family, because there's a whole nother level of, what you probably guilt and grief, or what if we were there, what could we have done about this. I just imagine, as a mom, you beat yourself up enough and you question yourself enough about, am I doing this, am I doing that, so I get that it would just be so awful, so awful. I can't even imagine. There are a few things that I found kind of strange about all this, and one of them is that this happened in California City, but they are originally from Bakersfield, and this is the West, the adoptive family. They're from Bakersfield. So he says, when all of this is going on, and why can't I talk? The interview, he says wherever they're at, they're going to be here. They're close. So that makes me think, why do you know that? And now they have moved back to Bakersfield, and it just brings up in me, why would you say where they're at? Unless you're trying to throw them off the trail of where to look, that's one way to look at it. The strangest thing to me is that they have 6 kids all together, but without the boys, that would be 4 kids. And then you have 2 adults. So a neighbor had some really grainy footage of 4 children and 2 adults getting in a van and leaving. Now this is after the boys, before the boys were reported missing. Now where are the 2 little boys? You wouldn't leave kids that young alone. They couldn't have just stayed in the house. So were they with a babysitter? Were they with a family member? And why can't you produce that babysitter or family member? Of course, the first thing you would do is say, well, they were with, so-and-so, and go talk to so-and-so. And that, I've never heard, exactly what happened there and why that hasn't been investigated more. The police, they have, in the interviews you see with the police, there are a lot of things that they'll answer, and then a lot that they won't, and you can understand why. Is because they're keeping, they're playing it close to their chest, because they don't want any fake leads, and I guess, they're trying to keep a good relationship with the family, so that they feel that they can keep talking to them. I don't know if they have a lawyer yet, but for them it would be beneficial, the police, if they did not have a lawyer. So you just want to kind of tread lightly, and I understand that. But the house that they lived in has been torn apart. They even, they bashed in the walls. They tore up the background. They dug up the backyard. The talking today is not going well. So they bulldozed the background, and what do you think they were looking for? It's sad. Now why would they do that if they didn't suspect them? And the other children have since been taken out of the home. They are now not in the family's custody either, and that includes 2 biological children of theirs. They are, I believe, in foster care, but CPS took them, and I don't know if they've gone back with them or not, but that says something to me, because by this time, why couldn't they go back to their parents? I don't know if the whole investigation they'll have to stay away from their parents. I don't know how that stuff works, but anyway. And then, there's the fact that they're back in Bakersfield. I mean, I know they have to go somewhere, but I don't know. I kind of would want to stay where the children last were, just in case, even if it was just to drive around the town every day and just look and just see, can I see them anywhere. The police have entered the home with guns drawn. I wondered there too, that's not something you're normally doing if everything's, a-okay with everybody. So, a lot to wonder about there that you can't really know everything about because they can't tell you. And I know that kids run off, I know they do. And you can look and they're there 1 second and then they're gone. I mean, just in a store, I would just keep my kids in the cart because I'd be so scared. My second little girl, she liked to get around, she liked to explore. So I really had to watch her every second. But you're saying that the kids are rambunctious, then wouldn't you already kind of know that you have to be extra careful? You know, with some kids you can kind of give it a little bit more of a longer leash, but you know what I mean? More freedom. But, you know, I don't know, you're putting two kids out in the backyard and then going inside and stuff. And then the neighbor said that lock latched, it had an automatic latch, so, you know. But kids run, they run. I remember we were going to Thanksgiving dinner at a friend's house, and this is my family, and in 3 lanes of traffic, we just see this little 3-year-old just running down in the middle of traffic. And man, I never ran so fast in my life. I had my makeup on my, lap, like doing my makeup before we got there, and it was everywhere, all over the ground. My husband was like, yeah, it was serious if you dumped your makeup out. And, I had heels just... But I ran and got the little boy out of, and there he was in traffic, and his parents didn't even know. They didn't even show up for like 15 minutes or so, even longer. And so they didn't even know he was missing. He had just slipped out the back door, and they didn't live that far away, so I think they just didn't realize he was missing yet. But, we had to sit there with him and stay with him until the police came, until the parents came. And even then, the parents were not allowed to take him home. And I felt kind of bad because I was like, man, he got out, but, he could have killed himself. How he lived is just a miracle of God. I mean, this was 3 lanes of traffic, and he was just... It wasn't, it was around a mall, so it was around a mall and some apartments, so it was pretty busy, but it wasn't like an expressway. But still, it's a little baby running in traffic, I mean, I don't know how your kid has gone like 20 minutes and you don't see in that amount of time. But and then I've seen kids that are, growing up. Our family, we ran around and we just like did our own thing and stuff, but that was a totally different time, and we weren't babies. These are babies. And I don't know how their neighborhood was, or I know they were neighbors, but I don't know how busy it was or anything like that. But I'm just saying, the street with 2 little kids, all you had to do was turn around and they could have gotten hit by a car. So I never got that part, but but here we are today. And I think about this case, and you just want to know what happened. What happened to are they still alive? Are they... I mean, hopefully to God they're still alive, and wherever they're at, they're, happy being fed. Did somebody take them? What happened? I find it really hard to believe that somebody would just drive up and take two little boys, that could, out of a backyard that you have to go and latch a gate from, and they would probably scream and run, so it's just not that easy to go grab two little boys, I wouldn't think, unless had some way of bribing them or something. But it's such a mystery that bothers a lot of people, and they're just such sweet little boys. Anybody would love to adopt them. I mean, look at their little sweet little faces and their big cute little cheeks, and I mean, you think like they have their whole future ahead of them, and nobody knows where they're at. And I just really hope that there's some kind of resolution to this, and that these boys are found. There's been quite a bit of community outreach. I know so many people are watching and waiting, and I'm behind these little boys and just want to see them come home safely. So please pray for the family and pray for the little boys, and thanks for listening, and I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.